You can build it after the manner of men, or you can build it after the manner of God.
You are listening to Saints in the South.
All right, welcome. This is season 2, episode 86. We are Saints in the South, representing saints everywhere, and we are your source for gospel growth and good times. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and hit those subscribe buttons. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Saints in the South. You can also check out our website, saintsinthesouth.com, where you can leave us a review and a rating. This week, we are in sections 94 through 97 for the salvation of Zion. And just to give us a little background here, reading this comes from the historical records. In your Come Follow Me, you got Revelations and Context. Right. And this one is A House for Our God. Basically, he says, on June 1st, 1833, Joseph Smith received a revelation that contained a stern rebuke. Ye have sinned against me a very grievous sin, the Lord declared, in that ye have not considered the great commandment in all things that I have given unto you concerning the building of mine house. That great commandment had come 5 months earlier in a lengthy revelation Joseph called the olive leaf, which was section 88. Mm-hmm. It had directed the saints to organize themselves and establish a house of prayer, a house of fasting, a house of faith, a house of learning, a house of glory, a house of order, and a house of God. And I remember, Marcus, you had pointed that out, that specifically the Lord was referring to building a temple.
Yeah.
And everything and stuff.
Yeah, so, in that very particular verse, that's what he was actually referring to get that temple built. But obviously today we apply that to our own homes or anything,
right.
Being organized
and rightly so. We do. We
prioritize
to ourselves. So
right.
But yeah. So basically, about 5 months has passed.
Yeah.
And they've built. They've working on the School of the Prophets and everything.
Yeah, a couple of buildings
there. But they haven't moved forward on building the house of the Lord,
right.
which is where the true power, or where he talks about the Lord, he would endow them with power,
right,
and everything. And so this is where we are. This is what we're going to talk about here in these next few sections here today. So
yeah, and the Lord has all patience in the world, and you got to think he waited 5 months to even chastise them.
Right.
I mean, which is like, wow. I know as a parent, if I tell my kids to do something, I'm right on them within 5 minutes. Like, well, what are you still sitting there for? What's going on? But this is important, obviously, to the Lord. The Lord understands the importance of it, just like a parent understands for their kids. They know how important whatever command, whatever thing you ask them to do is usually for their own good, for them to learn something or to have something or whatever. And so this is the Lord knowing exactly what they need. He needs this gospel to go throughout the world. He needs this gospel to touch every continent, every people, and it cannot be done without being endowed from on high, having that power that they need. And it's only found in the temple.
Well, I think about the good, better, best principle that Elder Oaks and President Oaks talks about. They were doing a good thing and a better thing by organizing the School of the Prophets, having their instructions and everything. But the best thing was to build the temple.
Yeah.
Which is, you think about, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but going after the manner of men, although they were inspired in the School of the Prophets and everything, they're still limited in their inspiration and everything, because the Lord knows that the true teaching, or I guess the greater teaching, can come through the temple.
Right.
Which is, in thinking about today with the pandemic and everything, and not being able to go to the temple for so long, I think has affected a lot of people for sure. So
I think so. I really do. And I think about these guys, they're building these other buildings. First of all, there's not a lot of, obviously everybody that lived back then was a better builder than probably the majority of people on earth today, just because they worked with their hands on. You had to build your barn. You had to build a log cabin to live in. You had to, but what I'm getting to is when you get into this kind of building, like working, construction, this is a little different. And especially when you start talking about a house of the Lord and you hear the revelation, you understand this is a house that's the Lord can dwell in. What am I to do? How do you build that? And so they literally had meetings and things of how to build it and things. But I'm sure there was some hesitancy, not because, I don't really want to do it, because you got to think they started building the school of the prophet. That's labor too. It's not like they were lazy.
Right. Yeah. They jumped right on it.
It was just a matter of, I think they felt very inadequate. Like, how do you build a house of the Lord? Do we even know where that vibranium material is or whatever that needs to be used for this? Because this is the house of the Lord. This isn't your regular log cabin or whatever. However, that was something that was mentioned. Like, do we build it out of logs? Do we build it out? They had a big committee there. But it's huge undertaking.
That's an interesting thought, because I've been put myself in that situation. I've done things very similar when there's a big task to be completed, and I'm not real familiar with it. I'm going to kind of keep pushing it off, and that's what they were doing. That's right.
And they're getting practice on some other buildings.
That's right. Yeah,
let's practice a little bit here. Let's get going. And I'm sure that's why the Lord's like, okay, 5 months, y'all, kind of get on it. And
right.
But we see here that the Lord does step in and say, here's exactly how to build it. And I think that's kind of what happens here. There's patterns. Temples are patterns. That you find patterns in temples, and so the Lord has his pattern for his temple, but he allows them to kind of work it out.
Work it out. Exactly. Yep.
So in 94, one thing that I had highlighted here was in verse 2, super simple, super short. And like I was talking about before, the Lord finally says, you know what, I'm going to give you, there's a pattern that I've given you. And he did. He gave them a pattern earlier on. And he said, and it says in verse 2, it said, behold, it must be done according to the pattern which I have given you. One of the things that made me think of, I built a couple of houses in my life and things, and work with blueprints, and like we just talked about before, the Lord has given a pattern for his house, but anyway, this is what I wrote down. I said, today, houses of the Lord are found around the world. Even if they are not at the center of our cities, they can be the center of our lives. Actually, this part is in the Come Follow Me manual.
Right.
This part, it says, even though the center, they're not the center of our cities, they can be center of our lives, because there was a pattern of how the whole, not only just the temple was set up, the Lord gave the pattern of how the whole community, the whole town, the whole city was to be set up. Right. The center was the temple, and everything would go out. If you look at Salt Lake City, that's the way Salt Lake City is. Some of the older temples, Kirtland was starting, Nauvoo, obviously. They wanted it to be that way. That's the way the Lord set it up. It says, though each temple differs in appearance, within them we learn the same divine pattern, a heavenly plan to bring us back into the presence of God. For those that have been to several different temples, you'll notice when you walk into a temple, they're all different, right? In appearance, but they're similar in what rooms are in them, the purposes of what goes on in there.
Right. I like that. And that's that being following the pattern of the Lord and building the temple. Actually kind of leads us into section 95, verses 13 and 14. And this is something that I actually ended up covering with my children last night. Says, now here is wisdom and the mind of the Lord. Let the house be built not after the manner of the world, for I give not unto you that ye shall live after the manner of the world. Therefore, let it be built after the manner which I shall show unto 3 of you, whom shall appoint and ordain of this power. And so, and I asked the kids, I said, how can we apply this to our lives? If you build things after the manner of men, it's going to crumble sooner. It's going to come crumbling down. Whereas if you follow the pattern of the Lord, it's going to last a lot longer. And applying that to our lives, if we're trying, I told the kids, I said, look, you're blazing a trail for your own life. You're building your life. You can build it after the manner of men, or you can build it after the manner of God.
Right.
And one thing that I'd like to share, kind of a personal experience here. And I'm sure you probably know this. So I was engaged before I was engaged to my current wife and everything.
Right.
Only wife,
Your current wife. So let's just, first of all, he's been engaged several times.
That's right.
Just kidding. That's what it sounded like. No, but
okay. So before I married Amanda, I was engaged to another girl.
Right.
And
Shout out if you're watching.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Anyway.
No, so, but looking back,
yeah,
I tried my hardest to follow my path.
Right.
And because that, even though looking back again, deep down, I knew it wasn't what the Lord wanted. It wasn't the best way. Although everything may have worked out, everything would have been great, but Heavenly Father, and also looking at my patriarchal blessing indicates that I will kind of progress through life a little bit before I meet and marry my wife. I was married at 25. And so, and I was married at 26. I was 26
super old.
That's right. So yes,
super old.
26 years old when I got married. A lot of times, return missionary, get home, 21 years old, you're ready to get Marcus,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
So I went, went about 5 years before I ended up getting married. But anyway, long story short, my patriarchal blessing indicates that some time would pass.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to recognize that. I wanted to push that aside because I had my plans and what I thought was going to be the right thing. But thankfully, my Heavenly Father allowed things to work out and help things work out. He was trying to tell me, just be patient. Okay. Right. I've got something. I've got the best thing for you,
right?
Waiting and everything. So anyway, just a small example of, we can try and follow our own path, or we can try and include the Lord and follow his path. So
that goes to show you that the Lord is mindful of each of us.
Yeah.
And he knows us better than we know ourselves.
That's right. Exactly.
And we forget that sometimes because we are ourselves. So we want to go, well, of course I know what I want. Best. I'm me,
That's right. Exactly.
This is me. What are you talking about? How can you know? But
that's right.
Let go and let God.
I like that.
But so there's pretty cool, being you went to that verse, very cool story of how this happened. So when the Lord said, after the manner of the world, anyway, he showed them, therefore let it, in verse 14, therefore let it be built after the manner which I shall show unto 3 of you. Okay. So 3 of you. Who are those 3? Well, here's the story. Frederick G. Williams, counselor to the prophet Joseph Smith, recalled the fulfillment of the Lord's promise in these verses. He said, Joseph Smith received the word of the Lord for him to take his 2 counselors, Frederick G. Williams and Sidney Rigdon, and come before the Lord, and he would show them the plan or model of the house to be built. We went, and this is Frederick G. Williams recounting, he says, we went upon our knees, called on the Lord, and the building appeared within viewing distance. I being the first to discover it, then all of us viewed it together. After we had taken a good look at the exterior, the building seemed to come right over us. Then, or when the temple was nearing completion, President Williams said it looked like the building he had seen in the vision to the smallest detail, and he could not tell the difference between the temple he saw in the vision and the temple that was built.
Wow.
So all I can think, and it's easy for our generation, for us in this day and age with the technology we have, to see that vision. To me, I could totally see how that thing could have been in the distance, like a projection.
Right.
And then that thing come up over them and down to where they could look inside it, the rooms.
The 3D
model thing, man. You see it in Marvel movies.
That's right.
and Star Wars, where they have the 3D model that gets big and you're inside it and you're looking around. And so that it had to be probably way better than that, by the way. I mean, a little bit better CGI. I'm sure the Lord's CGI,
that's funny.
Anyway, that it's pretty cool that's how they saw it. And then the Lord, of course, goes right into 15, and the size thereof shall be 50 and 5 feet in width, and let it be 60 and 5 feet in length in the inner court thereof. I just love that this is Jesus Christ showing he's the master architect. That's right. I mean, he created the earth, man. He created the everything we can see with our eye right now. And it's like, this is him in mode right here.
That's right. Yeah.
65 feet this way.
He's whipping out the tape measure.
I'm telling you, dude, he's just like,
stat max out.
Yeah. I mean, and that thing, it'll stand out a long ways. Right. I mean, but yeah, it's just so cool. And then I think about his father, his earthly father, his stepdad, or whatever people say, all kind of stuff. But anyway, Joseph, was a carpenter and master architect there, showing them exactly what to do.
going back in the very beginning
Yeah.
about the chastisement, the Lord, and verily thus saith the Lord unto you, whom I love, and whom I love, I also chasten, that their sins may be forgiven, with chastisement. And so, I don't know, just thinking about, have you ever felt that chastisement from the Lord and feeling,
or a leader,
I've
had that before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's again, following patterns. I mean, we do the same thing with our children.
Yeah.
You discipline them, you get on to them and everything. But in the end, it's not because you want to be a dictator over your children.
Exactly.
It's because you love them and you want the best for them.
Absolutely.
Same thing with our Heavenly Father. So.
Absolutely. And we allow our children to make mistakes and et cetera, et cetera. But, there's those moments where you got to go, hey, that needs to not happen, or this needs to be corrected, or whatever. I absolutely love, though, verse 1 of section 95 is very closely related to 1 Nephi 3:7 in a way, because the second part of that, it says, for with the chastisement I prepare a way for their deliverance in all things out of temptation, and I have loved you. In other words, the Lord not only pointed out how the saints had sinned, right, but he also provided an instruction to help them accomplish his commandment, which in this case was to build the temple. The chastisement isn't to make us feel bad. It's honestly, it's the part where he sort of, I don't know. I think of it like to motivate and build up.
That's right.
Correctly. Some of the best ever that's ever lived has been chastised by the Lord. I mean, the brother of Jared, once again, chastised by the Lord, pretty heavily chastised is the way it's talked about.
Well, thinking of sports and everything, there's been times where, in coaching my kids, and I've had coaches tell us as well, like, if I didn't get on to you, if I didn't ride you hard and everything, it would mean that I don't think you have the potential.
Yeah.
If I don't think you have the potential, I'm not going to waste my time, instructing you and getting on you, encouraging you and everything. Same thing with the Lord.
Right.
It's a blessing, like you said.
Well, you're getting taught either way.
That's right.
You're getting taught either way. Either you're going to get taught the right way, or you're going to learn that was okay.
That's right.
And I'll continue to do it that way.
Yeah.
It must be fine. And so, you learn the right. What's that great quote? If you don't teach your children about Jesus Christ, the world will teach. How is it? If you don't teach your children to believe in Jesus Christ, the world will teach them not to.
Not to, right? Yeah.
In other words, what that means is, it doesn't mean that the world is actually actively saying don't believe in Jesus. It's just that they're not going to talk about Jesus a lot.
They're not going to focus on it. That's right.
It's not going to be a big deal.
It's not going to be a priority.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's it's a commandment for us as parents and leaders, and it's a necessity. It's a necessity. You'll find out that every commandment is a necessity. I mean, it has to be that way. Verse 6. Okay. This is the last one for this one. It says, they who are not chosen have sinned a very grievous sin, in that they are walking in darkness at noonday. What a great analogy for so many people today, walking in darkness at noonday. So it's obviously easy to understand what it's saying here, but really think about it. If I'm walking in darkness in noonday, what do I think is happening? If it's noonday, I may think that everything's fine, because it's noonday. It's bright. Things are bright.
Yeah.
But yet I'm still walking in darkness. And so this type of darkness can be easily obscured. I don't know if that makes sense. It's easily, Satan doesn't want the darkness to be very obvious.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, yes.
And so when I heard that, I thought, well, that's exactly what's going on. Everybody thinks they're right. Everybody thinks everything's great. The way that I'm living is good. I can walk away from the church and still live perfectly. Okay. And it's like, you're walking in darkness, but yet it's noonday all around you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's Satan. It's the greatest.
It is. Yeah.
Deceive. What's the word? Deception. That's the word. We need Heidi here with all her words. The greatest deception that you can have is that. And I thought, everything appears like noon. Everything appears great. Everything looks good. So I'm good. Not necessarily. Maybe there's something you need to take care of. There's something you need to do better. And that's where the chastisement and things can come in. But I just thought that was very interesting. That point.
Yeah, for sure.
Walking in darkness at noonday. That's happening a lot. And when I'm saying that, honestly, I'm talking a lot about members of the church. I think there's a lot of members of the church that are doing this, but anyway,
that's a very, very good point. There it's, and that's what Satan's all about. He makes everything look so beautiful and pretty and fun. And in reality, it's engulfed in darkness for sure.
There's people that walk away from the church that feel absolutely liberated and free and feel better than they've ever felt. And just my mind's clearer than it's ever been. And I don't feel guilty and anxious and it was too hard. And you're walking in darkness at noonday. It's just that simple.
Wow. Yeah.
So anyway,
that's good.
And that's a scary thing, man. It's a scary thing because one day then that noonday is going to be gone too. And you're going to be sitting there in total darkness. And it's anyway,
Wow.
96, I didn't have a whole lot,
I think the best thing maybe to me to point out on section 96 was what they decided to do in the chapter heading. Says they couldn't decide what to do with this French farm, right? Who should be in charge and everything. And it says, since the conference could not agree who should take charge of the farm, all agreed to inquire the Lord concerning the matter. And that's, you think about ward councils and things like that, and you come together to try and figure out the best plan of action on, different things, individuals and so forth. And ultimately, when you can't come to an agreement, if you can agree to pray, seek that guidance, ultimately you will agree and everything and stuff. So I think that was, to me, that was the biggest thing to point out here in 96.
97, a couple of things, just in the heading, as you read the heading, revelation given to the prophet Joseph Smith. This is the revelation that deals particularly with the affairs of the saints in Zion, Jackson County, Missouri, in response to the prophet's inquiry of the Lord for information. Members of the Church of Missouri were at this time subject to severe persecution, and on July 28, 1833, had been forced to sign an agreement to leave Jackson County. The prophet received this revelation a few weeks after mob violence broke out in Jackson County, Missouri. On July 23rd, 1833, under pressure, church leaders in Missouri signed an agreement to leave Jackson County. Joseph Smith was unaware of these events when he dictated this revelation. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Right.
He did not know that they had signed an agreement already to leave Jackson County. He did not know that when he received this revelation. And so the prophet didn't know, but the Lord knew that happened, and he received this revelation. I just thought it was very interesting.
Because
having that in context,
kind of contradicting, right?
Well, a little.
The people are
a little bit, yeah. It's
well, and not contradicting in a bad term.
No.
It's just that the Lord's got plans,
exactly.
But the people are.
It's not
happening. It's not happening. Everything.
Yeah, and you find out later that the Lord does remove that commandment of getting that temple built because of what's going on. And he even says, the Lord even says, it's because of the evil of the evil of men. What am I trying to say? The
persecutions.
All this evil stuff that they're doing. So it's sort of, we've talked about that before, how it sort of disrupted the plan a little bit, frustrated it a little bit.
Frustrated, that's right, yeah.
But it did not mean that the Lord's plan isn't good or it won't happen. It is going to happen.
This actually brings up a Saints in the South shirt that we have. That we've got. It says, Satan may win some battles, but God will win the war.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So
absolutely,
Satan won a little battle there, right?
Yeah.
Verse 8 to me is a big verse. Verily I say unto you, all among them who know their hearts are honest and are broken, and their spirits contrite, and are willing to observe their covenants by sacrifice. Yea, every sacrifice which I, the Lord, shall command, they are accepted of me. And just thinking about, what are we willing to give up? What are we willing to sacrifice in order to keep the covenants that we've made with the Lord? There's some You think about tithing. In here it talks about the I think verse 11. Yea, let it be built speedily by the tithing of my people.
Yep.
To a lot of people, tithing is a hard sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So that's what are we willing to give up,
right?
To push the work of the Lord forward and to keep our personal covenant. So,
and I've even heard people try to speak, and these are people that don't want to pay their tithing. The church has enough money at this point. They understand the Lord's not using the Lord don't need the money, but the church does. But I've heard people say, don't it have enough money at this point? And the answer honestly is yes. Yeah. It has absolutely enough. Everybody today, the Lord could say, stop paying tithing and we'd be fine till the millennium. There's enough money there in the reserve. I say that I'm not the financial guy for the church, but I really feel like it would be fine, which goes to show that it's not about money. This law is not 100% about money. It is about money. It's about temporal things that we need money for things, but I can promise you it's far more important than that. It's one of the most outward expressions of faith that we can do, is paying our tithing.
Yeah. We need the blessings of paying tithing more than the Lord needs
the money from it. Yeah, absolutely.
Although back early, and I don't remember, was it Lorenzo Snow that had the big tithing
yes.
declaration?
Yep.
And when the
had
church
the revelation in front of the people.
That's right.
Basically,
church was struggling in debt, and Lorenzo Snow said, "We've got to pay tithing."
Yeah.
That's just in order to get out, in order to be an effective and a strong church and be able to do what we're doing today, which is a huge humanitarian effort.
Yeah.
We've got to be self-sustaining.
President Hinckley, talking about the sacrifice, you were saying the willingness to observe their covenants by sacrifice. And then, of course, they talk about tithes. And this is what the Lord's talking. He's talking about sacrifice. But President Hinckley said, without sacrifice, there's no true worship of God.
And what did Joseph Smith also say?
I can't remember.
So
how does it go?
Basically, a faith or a religion that does not require the sacrifice of all things does not basically is not able to I wish I had it something to
I'll find it
to exercise the faith to save its people.
Yeah,
something like
doesn't
that.
Have the power or something.
Yeah, the power to save its people, sufficient to save its people.
Yeah. A religion that does not require the sacrifice of all things never has power sufficient to produce the faith necessary unto life and salvation.
There you go.
Yeah. Joseph Smith.
The last thing I wanted to bring up, which I think was probably just kind of a cool experience for those involved with the designing and the beginning of the temple, is that they first were planning on using logs.
Yeah.
Building like a log house or what have you.
Yep.
And Joseph, the Lord says, no, this is different. This is the Lord's house. This is the temple.
He's like, would you have the Lord's house built out of logs?
That's right.
Yeah. He's like, what are you like? Really? Really, guys? Like Peter, your house is built out of logs. We're not building it like that.
That's right. We're not building Peter's house over here. Yeah, that's right.
No, but
but build it out of block and brick and everything. And
but like I say, this is early on. This wasn't 2003. I mean, where they had some construction equipment.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome materials. I mean, you go to Home Depot and grab some stuff. Shout out to Home Depot sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. But it's amazing to see what happened. The people that the Lord put in place, these masonry experts from other countries, right. And it just worked out. And it wasn't that it just worked out. The Lord knew what he was doing. He was orchestrating this whole thing, man. He's master architect. He's going to hire his hands. He's going to hire the right people. That's right. All
right, there you go. Episode 86 in the books. Until next time, y'all keep on striving.